Combing out my daughter's microlocs, part 1. Okay, before we begin, here are my daughter's microlocs. I'm going to give you guys a full view just so you can get a good look at them. The video on the left side of the screen is the day we finally finished installing them. That was July 19th, 2021. The date of the video of her in the pink shirt here is February the 10th, 2025. So she's had her locks in for about 4 years. January was actually the first date we started combing out her locks. That was January the 31st, and we just combed out a couple to see if we were going to do it. And as you can see, we started her locks with 2-strand twists. I have footage on that installation. I will upload all of that later. It's been a journey for her hair, I will say that. There are so many things I learned, and I'll be sure to share those things in the later video. Here I am measuring her locks. Her locks full length were about 15 inches, and then I cut them to about 9 inches, and I also measured her loose hair, and that was about 13 inches after we combed out the locks. In reference to cutting her locks, I had a lot of people asking about why I cut my locks off, because I combed mine out first. If you haven't seen those videos, I will put that on the screen here and you can go and check it out. But you don't necessarily have to cut your locks. I did have to cut hers, or decide to cut hers, because I had combined her locks, and after combining her locks, she had a lot of double-headed dragons, or two-headed dragons, whatever you call it. And so the hair would have still had to have been cut, because it would have been such a weird just a weird cut if I hadn't have cut it. But her hair was still super long even after cutting off the double-headed dragons, still super thick. It was just, she's got great hair. So here I am measuring the loose hair after we had already combed some of her locks out. We did already start combing out her locks, but I am just starting to record the videos for it. And so here we begin. I am combining 3 locks to come out at a time. This is the detangler I'm using, and this is just water in an empty bottle. Okay, this is the lice comb, or it's a flea and tick comb that I'm using. And then the first step you want to do is really saturate those locks with water first. That's all this is water. It's not the Apogee stuff. And this is a detangler, detangle spray. You can also use regular detangler. There are a lot of different detangling concoctions you can make, like homemade. So you just want it to be something with a good slip, and don't forget to put a towel nearby or down, because it gets pretty messy. You can also use conditioner. So here I just put those 3 locks together. I take my lice comb, and you have to go pretty slow with just trying to loosen up the very ends of the locks. The very ends. Sometimes I separate them into 1 lock at a time and get them all to where they're a little bit of loose hair, and then it's easier to combine. I'll say this is probably the most difficult part, is the very beginning of trying to loosen up the very ends. I don't really know why, but if you're trying to do this and you just like, this is not working, just keep trying, and once you start to see it loosening up, you may be able to be like, okay, I'm getting somewhere. But it's hard to tell. I also have this video sped up a little bit because it is a pretty long time, and the clock in the back is like 5:06. So by the end of this detangling, you'll be able to see how long it took us. In some of my previous videos on me detangling my hair, like I mentioned, if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's pretty good information in there. You see my full end results and everything, but one of the questions was, do I have to use this lice comb? You don't. You can use a small rat tail comb. Any small comb should work. This has just been better because I've tried a paper, not a paper clip, but a safety pin. I've tried a thumbtack. Those work, but they just take a lot longer. But this has just been the game changer for us. I picked it up at Amazon. You can probably pick it up at a store, a pet shop or something. And we did go through a few of them. I had 394 locks-ish. And unfortunately, we've never counted my daughter's locks. So I'm sorry about that. And yes, counting locks is a thing if you're in the lock community. If you're not, I get that you don't understand that, but it's a thing. So you do not have to use a lice comb. This is just the best thing that worked for us. And this is when I realized I forgot to set the timer. So I'm showing the clock for a timestamp there, so we can see about how long it'll take to complete combing out 3 of them. I noticed that my daughter's hair was very different than mine. I knew that it wasn't the same. I knew it was different, but I was a little challenged with detangling hers. I think because her strands are so much more thick. So I think she has really coarse hair. It was just really strong. I think she has low porosity hair. I think if I'm gauging it correctly, it just took a long time for her locks to get really saturated. So that's something to consider. Your hair porosity is probably going to matter at how easy your hair gets to that slip of that not being so resistant to combing out. So you need a lot of slip in there, which is why you use the conditioner or detangle spray, lots of water. And I continue to use lots of water and conditioner throughout this process in order to keep it very moisturized and pretty slippery. And I know y'all probably thinking, by the way I'm combing this out, she ain't gonna have no hair. No, but it seems very rough and it sounds really like terrible because these combs are metal. But I'm being pretty gentle, and it doesn't help that I have it sped up. But by the time I'm editing this video, we have already detangled all of her locks, and she has a ton of hair.
I don't know, I just need a little moisture.
It does, but it seems like it's not very. It seems like it's messing up something with yours, but I could be tripping. I feel like straight conditioner works better with yours.
Go back.
As I was working on her locks, taking hers down, I had already done mine. So it took us so long to finish because she was still in school. She would come home and just do a few after school, and then she wouldn't want to come sit in my chair and get it done. So we really hardly worked on her hair as far as like consistently. So we would just she'd probably do like maybe a few a week. So when summer finally hit, that was when we kind of was able to spend about a good week or so on working on her hair. And I think if I can estimate, we would have probably been done in about 3 weeks or so if we would have worked like consistently like how we did. You did the first time.
Oh, sorry.
Did you see me move or something?
Yeah.
Listen, this is a process, and in my previous video of me combing out my own, I recommended that you pray about doing this first. I definitely prayed, and I was like, Lord, please don't let me do this if I'm not going to finish it or if I'm going to regret it. Don't let me spend all this time. And sure enough, I got through it. Not only that, he gave me the idea to combine multiple locks, which I had never seen before on the internet. So that's just something you should consider. Prayer, because even though this is hair, it's a part of our life, and if it's something that we care about, then we should bring it up to God in prayer, right? My mom always says he cares about the things we care about. And to have a lineup of something to listen to or to watch, I sometimes would have the Bible app play and read to me, or I would have a whole series of stuff to just watch or listen to. YouTube channels, I watched a lot of YouTube channel videos on hair because I'm like, I gotta get back into this. So I had a whole playlist. So that's some things to consider, because this is a big commitment, and I just didn't want to waste a lot of my life combing out some locks that I was just going to eventually just cut my hair off, anyway. So, but this was very therapeutic to me. It was therapeutic to my daughter. Even when I put in her hair in a style, she was like, I want to do some of my hair again. So it's not for everybody, but if you enjoy kind of doing hair, you probably can sit and do this. Which is why I mentioned having some type of playlist or some type of audio book or something playing, because you don't want to have to spend time looking for something. You want something that you can already have set it up in your downtime, where you may be in the car riding, you're not doing hair. You start making your playlist, start having some things to read, if you can read while you're doing it, stuff like that. Just have some type of plan, so you don't spend time, you don't waste time trying to figure out what to listen to or what to watch, so you can sit and get them hours in, okay? Over the course of this video, thus far, you can see I've made a little bit of progress. This is me spraying on more water, just so that I can keep going, and it seems to start to get a little bit easier once you get up towards where you loosen up some of the hair. That's just from my experience of doing this, so many hundreds of times. But yeah, it's a process, and I will say these videos, when you speed things up, it does make things seem easier. So it is important to also have a transitioning style, like as you're going through the process, have a style that you can wear, like being versatile. If you can wear a wig, we just did mini twists in the back, and I wore it in a bun. So that's how I got mine done. She kind of, her locks were still in, and they kind of hid her little twists that were in the back. So we had a little system and a process going here, but that's that. That's the end of the detangling, and the clock was up at about 6:28, so about 6:30. So we started at about 5, so that was about an hour and a half. So that's for 3 locks. So you can divide that up by 3, and that's how many minutes, I guess you can say, it took per lock. So 90 minutes divided by 3, that's about 30 minutes per lock. Something to consider. Now check my math, because I'm not good at math, like, at all. So that's something to consider if you're thinking about doing this. I did decide to go ahead and cut more of her locks to about 7 inches, because when I detangled that last 3, it was a lot longer than the first ones I detangled, and I'm not trying to detangle more hair than I need to. This is how much hair we lost. That's the end of part 1 of combing out my daughter's microlocs. Stay tuned for part 2.